All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the BGF podcast. I'm your host, Gianluca, alongside of
Brandon.
Today we got
An interesting episode.
another interesting episode, but this time it's the Carolina Panthers. And Brandon, I just want to ask you one thing before we get into this. Was this the worst trade in NFL history?
It's definitely up there. I don't know if I consider it the worst, but this trade has definitely set back the Carolina Panthers franchise 3 to 5 years. Let's go over it anyway.
What trade am I talking
exactly.
about?
In the details. So, the Carolina Panthers traded in the offseason DJ Moore, their first rounder of last year, which was the ninth overall pick. Their second rounder that year as well, so it was an early second. This year's 2024 first round pick, which is right now going to be basically going to be the first overall pick, and the 2025 second round pick in exchange for the first overall pick last year, Bryce Young. And we've seen it this year. Bryce Young, it's been pretty ugly. They have not put great pieces around Bryce Young, and he's struggling out there. Want to give me some Bryce Young numbers from this year?
Yeah, so just looking at his numbers on the year, completed 262 passes, attempted 441, completion percent of 59.4 for a total of 2,359 yards, 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He has not looked good. And like you said, this trade has really set them back. And I don't even want to say Bryce Young is a bust just because the team around him is not there. But the fact that they traded everything to get this man and not even they traded everything. They put all their eggs in his basket, and unfortunately for Carolina, it hasn't worked out. And then they realized that, you know what, we need a team around him, but
too late.
They don't have a first this year. They don't even have a second. Or do they have a second?
They might, but because in the trade it was next year's second, not this year, so they might have one. I'm not 100% sure on that.
They might have a second, so either way, you're drafting at the 201. What do? All the best guards are out there. All the best linemen are out there. Top-end receivers are gone, so you're looking at maybe grabbing a guard/center to help out Bryce Young, but you'd probably want to start off. I don't know. Personally, I would probably want to start off with that O-line. Give him some more time in the pockets. Just help the kid out because he's on his ass a lot of games, and I don't know what the sack numbers are on him. He's taken 51 sacks on the year. There it is. I just saw it.
That must be in the top 5.
Arguably in the top 5. I know Sam Howell's up there, but
I know Sam Howell's number 1
by a long shot. But 51's not good. This O-line hasn't been great, and you want to help him out there. Then on top of that, you wanna give him some weapons. You got Adam Thielen, who's putting up a very productive season considering his age and where he's at in his career.
With the past few weeks.
However, the past few weeks he's taken a bit of a decline and hasn't been as productive as he was early on, but that's to be expected. He's an aging veteran, and his decline usually happens after the halfway part of the season. But yeah, no, you want to surround this guy with weapons. They brought in Miles Sanders as their big off-season running back, and hasn't looked great. Chuba Hubbard's better than him, and Jonathan Mingo, the rookie wide receiver, has not lived up to the hype. It's really just been Adam Thielen and pick and choose where you want to go. However, Mingo has played better recently in recent weeks with Adam Thielen's decline, but I don't know. I don't see it, man. What do you think about this offense?
Yeah, so like you were saying, going back to the offseason, you obviously trade away your number 1 receiver, who he himself has never had a quarterback. You've never given him a quarterback since he was there, and we know how talented DJ Moore was. But you lose him, and you draft your first overall pick, Bryce Young. You're expecting they'll address some issues here, and they'll get him at least some sort of weapons to help him out. But they didn't do that. They signed Von Bell, which was for defensive purposes. DJ Chark, Adam Thielen, Miles Sanders, and Hayden Hurst. Those were their guys that they signed in the offseason on the offensive side of the ball. We've seen Hayden Hurst. It hasn't really worked out. He had a nice little week 1, but since then, not much has happened there. He did have success last year with Cincinnati, but I think a large part to play with that was him having guys like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins around him.
Yeah.
Less attention to him, and also having Joe Burrow as his quarterback is always going to help. And we've seen in Cincinnati, we've seen tight ends be plugged in there, and they just work. And then you give Miles Sanders a 3-year deal, which is going to handicap them
Even more.
at that position. That giving up big time contracts to Miles Sanders. I know he had a okay year last year. He was pretty good, but for his career, he had never shown to be an elite back or a guy that you can give big time term, like a 3-year term to. So even at the time, I found that was a really puzzling move on their end, and that has definitely not worked out. Chuba Hubbard, who they did draft last year, has looked to be the better back, like you had mentioned. And then Adam Thielen, he's been a lot better than most of us thought, but if he's going to be the only positive signing addition you've made when you got absolutely nothing, then it's going to be a problem. And DJ Chark, I couldn't even tell you what DJ Chark's doing this year. I feel like he's been a name I've not seen much of this year.
Just want to throw out some numbers out there. So Adam Thielen is their number one receiver with 870 yards. Their next closest receiver is Jonathan Mingo with 409. So Adam Thielen has this guy doubled and more. And his production recently has been really, really bad. So imagine if his production continued. This is just... You're relying on a 35-year-old wide receiver, or 30, however old Thielen is. I don't remember his exact age. Anyways, you're relying on an aging veteran receiver to lead this team. What's going to happen next year when he gets older and, he starts to decline a little more, which is not his fault. It just, it happens with age, especially in the NFL, this sport. But what are you going to do? You're going to rely on Jonathan Mingo and, I don't even know, DJ Chark, I guess. But yeah, no. But let's move on to the defensive side of thing. Honestly, beginning of the season, I thought they had a bit of hope. Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, J.C. Horn. I thought, you know what? They're not bad. They're young. They're getting up there. But it just hasn't worked out. It hasn't been horrible. I won't lie. It's been whatever. But hasn't lived up to the hype. Hasn't lived up to expectations at all. Because the way this team was, I believe they were projected to go was rely on the defense to get you out of some tough spots, and then the offense with Bryce Young. Yes, there will be some mistakes. There will be some obstacles to go over, but eventually they will get through it, and just has not been the case. And yeah, what do you think about the defense and this team?
I always liked the pieces they had on this defense, like a guy like Derek Brown, Brian Burns, J.C. Horn, Jeremy Chin, like you mentioned. But obviously J.C. Horn was injured for most of the year. He just recently came back.
Yeah.
And the defense has just struggled, and that's the one area where I'm not too concerned about them. I think they'll figure it out. They just need a few guys that they could pick in the draft in the later rounds, and if they can get a few pieces here and there, I think it'll work out. For me, it's really the offense that is concerning with them. But you look into next year, the thing that is positive about the Carolina situation right now is they're not really paying anyone.
They're
gonna have cap space, and they do have to pay Brian Burns, though he is coming up for an extension. He's eligible for an extension, so there has been a lot of interest from teams like the Rams. I know the Rams have been offering multiple first-rounders, and Carolina has rejected those offers, so you'd expect Carolina to offer Brian Burns a big-time deal this offseason. And I think that's really going to be one of the only guys that's going to be making big money anytime soon for them. So if you're looking at upcoming free agents this year, wide receiver position, I know Michael Pittman is supposed to be a free agent this year. I doubt
they let him go, but yeah,
I don't know if he hits the market, but that's a guy. Mike Evans is. Even if Mike Evans does hit the market, do they go to Carolina? That's going to be the big thing. How can they attract this talent to come to Carolina?
They're going to have to pull a Jacksonville move when they signed Christian Kirk there. They overpaid him by $20 million.
That's what I was just about to say as well.
Sorry, yeah.
They're going to have to overpay for guys, and we'll see. That could work out for him. It did work out for Jacksonville.
It did. Christian Kirk came in. All of a sudden, he was this wide receiver 2/3, comes in, becomes the alpha in that locker room, and arguably still is this season, because Calvin really hasn't lived up to expectations, but that's a debate for another day. But yeah, no, that's true. So maybe a guy like Mike Evans, future Hall of Famer, hasn't had a season under 1,000 yards, Mr. Consistent, whatever you want to call that man. I'd take a chance on him if I was Carolina. What do you have left to lose?
Well, I'll give you all the options that there are right now, not just at wide receiver.
Yeah.
The big-time free agents this year, Leonard Williams.
Yeah.
They're going to have, I think this is not updated because Chris Jones, I'm pretty sure, has multiple years. I don't think it's a one-year deal.
Yeah, he signed.
Anyway, Danielle Hunter, your boy.
My boy.
Mike Evans, Odell Beckham Jr., Buda Baker, Jason Kelsey, which that's not going to be an option, Derrick Henry, Jerome Baker, Josh Jacobs. So
Derrick Henry was I saw a quote that he was teasing going to free agency, just testing the waters. So that could be interesting for Carolina if you want to pick up a very decent running back, just depending on how much money he's going to want and whatever.
There are going to be decent running backs that could hit the market, like Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, but I don't know if they end up making it there. It's not that great of a. It looks okay right now, but how many of them actually get to free agency? I don't think there's going to be that many.
Yeah.
So I don't know how great the options are. I don't know how this Carolina situation does turn around, though. It's going to be a very difficult and long process, and I think they're just going to have to hope that their general manager and the guys upstairs in the front office are going to make smart decisions and not one like they did last year.
No, because I mean, like,
I
don't want to call Bryce Young a bust yet, just because he really has nothing there in Carolina. It's not his fault. He really doesn't have anything. It's just you want to see more from him. You want to see him do a little bit more, and he hasn't lived up to expectation. Coming out of college in Alabama, dominating the league and just doing everything he did there, hasn't really lived up to expectations. So now you see what you have in him after 1 year. You know what you need to address. This now goes on Carolina. If they really believe in Bryce Young, which I'm pretty sure they do, trading all that for him,
they have no choice.
They have no choice to believe. So you got to go all in right now and go help him out. You got to address 3 things, in my opinion. This order, that O-line, fix it. Off-season, draft, whatever you need to do. Get guys, get pieces, get bodies, get depth. Help that O-line. Give him time to throw. Number 2, you need a receiver. Very, very badly. Arguably, that can be ahead of the O-line. Just give him an out. But I personally like a good O-line. That's just my personal preference. And then number 3, you got to give him a serviceable running back. Chuba Hubbard's kind of doing it, but you need someone else there with Hubbard. Miles Sanders ain't cutting him. Try to move away from that contract if you can. But I'm not a GM, so I don't know how to do that. And, yeah, what do you think? What do you think about that?
I'd agree with you as well. I think the number one necessity for them would be to address the receiver role. I think Adam Thielen would do just fine as a 2, like he was doing in Minnesota for the last few years since Jefferson got there. I feel like that would be his role for him and not asking too much of him. And obviously the offensive line, we've seen a guy like Ikem Ekwonu that they drafted early in the draft a few years ago has not really worked out for them. So I think they're going to have to address that position again. And that's one position that it's hard to get guys that are super solid there. We've seen in most teams don't really have, like, it is a revolving door, that position.
Yeah, that's why
for a lot of teams. So if you can get one that's super solid, that'll definitely be helpful for them. But without a first rounder this year,
that's going to be a little difficult.
Yeah.
Because then you're banking on second round guys coming in and just plugging in and playing like first round or top 10 players. But yeah, that's why you don't see a lot of tackles and guards hit the free agency, especially in their prime, because teams really, that's one position that's very, very difficult to replace. And a lot of these guys that hit free agency, these guards, these tackles are a bit on the older side, and last few years of their deal they maybe dipped in play. But either way, I agree with you, man. That's where I would go. I wouldn't worry about this defense yet. I would primarily focus on the offense and just. It's okay, Carolina. It happens.
Yeah, they'll probably lose out the rest of the year, the last 3 games.
Who they got?
They're gonna have Chicago a first overall pick.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch, but hopefully we can get it. You guys can get it turned around. At least you had a Super Bowl run there a few years back, but it's unfortunate for Carolina fans. And yeah, got anything more to add? Or?
Just keep hope alive.
So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If any Carolina fans are watching this, let us know in the comments your thoughts on what we had to say today and what you think Carolina, the front office, can do to make changes for the organization. And let us know what you guys think, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.